Okay, we're live.
Okay, we are going to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Helotes EDC on Wednesday, September 17th at 7 o'clock. Okay, open sessions. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
No citizens.
No citizens to be heard. Okay, we're going to move to items 3 and 4 of the consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed below are considered routine by EDC staff and are intended to be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the director requests it, and in which event that will be removed from the consent agenda and will be placed in the normal sequence of agenda. Does anybody have something they need removed from the consent agenda? No directors have anything to be removed. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? There's not any, so we are going to, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Consent agendas pass. Next item on the agenda is going to be items for individual consideration. Presentation of discussion of master plan for the Helotes Fitness Park and Disc Golf Course. So, Scott?
Directors, so last year, the organization engaged Burdett and Associates to conduct a master plan for our Helotes Fitness Park and Fitness and Frisbee Golf Park. And there was a delay with some changes in staffing here at the EDC through last year. But as you're aware, since I've come on, we've worked with Burdett and have finalized that master plan. So today's agenda item is for Ms. Claudia Walker with Burdett to present to the board the final master plan and for you all to have a discussion and any questions and answers related to her as she's here available to us. So, Claudia?
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Can you guys hear me okay? That's always a problem for me, so. Okay, as he said, we had started this back in 2024, June apparently, and had some delays on that end, but we're eager to get it finalized and presented to you guys. And since I have not actually presented myself, I know everything, all the information has been kind of brought to you in between. I wanted to go over just our process and how we arrived to the final master plan and cost estimates on that.
And Claudia, just tell me what you want me to maneuver with it.
Yeah, so you can go on the first one. Okay, so we had several meetings, individual meetings. Many of you guys were in the meetings for the initial stakeholder engagement part. We had one-on-one, two-on-one with our staff. We also had online survey that was posted for the community to state what their desires and issues and everything in that manner. And also had the Parks Committee involved in all of the questionnaires and one-on-one meetings as well. So this graphic wanted to show you guys that in all it was a pretty close consensus on what the improvements needed to be by all the stakeholders, the survey results, the Parks Committee and you guys in whole. So there is not a lot of just kind of serious items that were an issue. It's pretty much what it is. Whatever we saw as well was in line with everything that everybody was saying. So on this end, we have the top 10 kind of things that everybody agreed on, that they wanted either improvement or wanted to see or was a desire. And these are not in any number one order or so, but in general. So shaded areas, whether that was additional trees, additional canopy, shade structures, just overall shade. Parking improvements, that was actually one of the reasons why we were brought in the first place, because of accessibility and parking. So that was one of the first things that came up. Playground improvements, there's a great playground already there, but adding additional age range to the playgrounds. There's the toddler playground here, but whenever kids or parents bring their kids to the playground, they want to be able to have everybody there, the entire family, so that was another one. Sports courts was actually quite high on the list as well, with just a general idea of sports courts, whether it's pickleball, tennis, just basketball. They just wanted to have something that was there for additional pieces to do for, again, it's a variety of things for the entire community. The trails and paths, those were absolutely, everybody loved having trails and paths, but having those wider. There's not a huge amount of room to expand as far as the additional lineage, but there's great opportunities to expand in width to allow for people to pass each other. And exercise equipment was another one where there are some items that are outdated or falling apart that could go away, but the existing other pieces were greatly used by many as well. And then the disc golf, everybody agreed that there was no request for additional disc golf pieces, but nobody wanted to touch it. So it's being used by somebody. The disc golfers did not necessarily say that they were using it, but the entire community as a whole saw that they were being used and they did not want to mess with it. So that was a surprising kind of a thing that we found. And then the last three items on were actually 2 out of 3 of the groups and the stakeholders agreed that they wanted to see, and that one of them was water activities. The online survey and the Parks Committee thought there should be some type of water feature for the kids. And the open space, this one was not necessarily a naysay. I think it was mostly on the stakeholder group. It didn't necessarily come up as something that needed to be done, but needless to say, it's already there. It's just needed improvements. And then dog-related activities, I believe that was actually one that has been coming up throughout the years as well, and there's even a location for a dog park area that was considered previously. So those 3 items were the only ones that they're still ended up on the top 10 desired list, but they weren't as high priority as the rest of the items. So, as I said, based on all of that information, we had already been on site, checked out what the conditions of the park were, with the amenities and all, and came pretty much the same conclusion. We just needed to have the stakeholder input to let us know that yes, this is what it is that the city needs as a whole. So. It's kind of, I try to compress it into one sheet, but the existing site, as I said, the parking lot itself, it's unstriped, and it creates a little bit of dangerous, chaotic parking scenarios. There's also not enough parking. Also, the entranceway is really generally one-way entrance. You go in and out. So those items were immediately noted, and those needed to be addressed really first and foremost. If there's any new improvements going into the park, parking is going to be a bigger issue, because people are going to want to go more than when there's something new, they want to go see it more. So that's one of the first things that came up. The other one was the trail system. Very, very highly used, but it is currently not all accessible, AD accessible, and also pretty narrow. So second recommendation would be to improve on the trail system. There's about 3 bridges on there, and most of the bridges, I believe 2 out of the 3 bridges are not ADA accessible, so, and simple things to replace. Also, if you can see actually the third picture, there's the pavilions. There's 2 or 3 picnic pavilions that are not highly used, and I think one of the reasons is because it's not paved underneath, and a lot of what we heard was that the disc golf users actually just used it to put their stuff on the picnic tables, but they weren't actually used as to gather or have a small picnic or just a restful space. So recommendations on addressing those areas where it's already there, just needs to be improved and to have easily and accessibility to others. And the wooden exercise equipment, that is really the best thing that could be done to it. Is there might be a few pieces that could be cleaned up, but it's best to remove them all. And there's also opportunities to, once at the far end of the master plan, possibly include some additional fitness equipment in certain areas, but that was not necessarily one of the major proposed improvements on the park, due to the fact that people were they were fine with what they had, and the wooden equipment wasn't highly used either, and it can become a nuisance, an issue, dangerous pieces as well. So those can easily go away. Let's see the next one.
Next slide.
So on this end, this is just a kind of a little programming opportunities that we started kind of working through. One is the circulation of the parking. How can that be expanded? How can that be improved? And this is very kind of big picture, bubbly diagram where everything needs to go, but it helped create the program elements themselves. So, and I cannot read, I made this way too small, but I have the program goals that were, see if I remember most of them. They were mainly to utilize whatever is available to use, create ADA accessible spaces with parking, with the trail system, and just access to each element, the minimal, at least, accessibility. And safe, welcoming, and multi-purpose park. So multi-purpose is, talking to most people in the Parks and Recreation Department, whatever, and I'm pretty sure in cities and all this, whatever you can use that can be multi-purpose, that can grow with the users throughout time, the better. So we try to have areas that could be used for many variety of things. One of them actually would be the courts. If creating a covered courts area that could be used for rentable spaces, for gathering, even community events. It would be a decently large space for that end. And also have it in the day-to-day life, have those be court spaces for whether it could be multi-striped, if that's a desire, with basketball, pickleball, tennis, and any of those possibilities are available. It just depends on the desire at the time of the user group. And the other, simple, easy ones to take care of are the existing open space. There's a lot of talk about, what can you do with the open space if it was well graded, if the grass was, grew. I know there's been a lot of different improvements that trenched through the site quite a few times, so it creates a little bit of uneven spaces throughout there. But if it was regraded and sodded or even hydroseeded to create a more level space, it would be really highly used. It could be used for pickup games or flying kites, or just gathering spaces throughout. And the last item on here is actually, there's an opportunity for future parking expansions with the 1560 improvements that, whenever those come, you never know when TxDOT is going to provide some information on those, but that's kind of left in the future tense as far as, but creating that kind of, having that pinpoint there, starting conversations with TxDOT about having access to it from their improvements is a good way to at least start having those conversations, have a plan. So this is what we want to do, and they'll at least know that there's opportunities there for you guys to make improvements to that end. And, also, just to allow for the expansion of trail opportunities. There was this would be more of a decomposed granite trail, a little bit less rigid as the other, more passive space. Not necessarily one that would you go to truly have some power exercises or something, but because it is within the disc golf area, there was didn't want to interfere too much with the disc golf work, so we kind of stayed away from that a little bit. And on the family play recreation kind of that space there was mainly to kind of create a gathering space, whether it's it could be for just family coming and allowing for their kids of ages 2 to 12 to be able to play in the playground, and have also next to it you have the open space that you can utilize at the same time, and creating shade for the parents, the grandparents, the caregivers that are stuck in the heat. So creating that space as more of a little bit friendlier to the everyday use of the park. We do not have splash pad of any sort on here for many reasons. One of them was the cost of recirculation system that would be required. Because of where you guys are, you have to have a recirculation system, which is doubles and triples the cost of the installation, plus the maintenance side as well. So that was one of the reasons. Another reason was because there's a lot of flood areas throughout that would impact that as well. And since it was also it was part of the survey high requests, so we did have options to possibly bring in some more misting systems that within the seating areas to kind of give you a cooling effect. And there's also ways to bring in some additional plants and trees to create that kind of that cooling effect without bringing in a splash pad of some sort. And so this is the master plan. I have it over here too, in case I can't tell which is, I think they're all the same size. We did study several pieces of, We did study several different ways to incorporate parking scenarios. This one ended up being the one that had the most parking without removing a lot of the existing canopy, and also without relocating too much of the disc golf. I believe we relocated 2 disc golf courses, disc golf stations from based on this scenario. The decomposed granite trail going throughout here and connecting to the overall trail. Again, this centerpiece is the kind of multi-use pavilion pickleball / tennis courts next to the restroom area that's in good shape. It's all fully accessible as well, so there's no need to do any upgrades on that end. And the play areas here with shade structures, seating areas, enhancing the existing pavilions as well. Adding some of the hardscape elements on the surfaces on both of those, adding some additional seating and for parents. And we also had a kind of a small, at the entrance, a spot for possible dedication, like possibly plant a tree and dedicate it. That was something that came up later on and throughout the design process. And the last one was the future possibility of extending the parking into this area with the extension of the improvements of the roadway and a dog park space at this point. So those are all the kind of the high level items that were desired and requested throughout the whole process. And based on all of those, we did go to the kind of phasing opportunities and see to kind of give you guys an approach that can be easily taken, bite by bite. And go to the next one too. Excuse me one second. So we had to put a lot of restraint on ourselves to not go wild on you guys. But so the overall, so we have it broken down into 6 phases. So trying to keep them into bite-sized phases where they're from close to 300,000 to in range, kind of almost an average about 300,000 on the high end for most of those. But the first one, of course, would be the parking lot. That said, if any kind of improvement is done that is not including creating a more organized or safer parking, it's going to create chaos for everybody, because they will want to use the site. And currently there's no direct, there's no walkability, to the park from most of the neighborhood, besides the neighborhood that's next door to it. And I'm not gonna say anything about the opportunities for any other connections. I don't know where that is, but parking is going to be really a number one issue to take care of. Once parking is taken care of, it's really whatever is the most desired phase. But we do have kind of the approach of once parking is done, then the improvements to the trails would be very beneficial, since most people do use the trails, whether they're walking, walking strollers, the kids running on, or using their scooters, older people trying to walk, and getting a good kind of system throughout. It is one of the number one pieces that is being used, and so improving that, allowing for a wider ability for people to cross each other and even walk one-on-one. Sometimes there's not a lot of opportunity for that right now. That is going to be pretty major. And then the third option would be getting a playground into the 5 to 12, sorry, excuse me, the 2 to 5 range to allow for a greater range of use in that space with some accessible, pathways to it as well. The second kind of chunk of it is the additional kind of shade and additional trails and improving on the open space. Those are actually, they're lumped up into one chunk, but they could be, grabbed from easily and put into any of the other phases if the funding is available. And they're really not a lot of additional things or fees to put into another phase if that was the case. But if it needs to be every specific years, then that is a good option to bring in some improvements that allow for the entire park to be kind of sprinkled with new improvements throughout. The multi-use pavilion, that's would be a big ticket number, so it is on the latter end of the proposed phasing. That one will require some it's right now it's close to 700 in costs on the low end, and then 760 or so on the high end. So it could definitely be something really significant as far as shade for the community, but also rentable space. I think that's really a good one to kind of weigh the options on that end. And then the last one, mostly because it would depend on TxDOT, is the parking lot on the right end, and with that parking lot, then any dog improvements on, dog park spaces that could be accommodated in that space as well. You guys can see the totals on there if you wanted to do all of it. That's 2.5 or so for the whole shebang. I think it's the second to last.
Next slide.
So here, generally, I kind of wanted to give you an idea of how the phases could work. If for the, no, you can't see that either, so hang on a second. For the first two phases, within the next 2 years, that's the parking lot and the trails, if that could be done within the next 2 years. And then in the meantime, planning for the next phases. Again, so the phase 3 playground, that one is, I know this one, this playground was installed just recently. So you guys have numbers on that, how that works. That could be something that could be even explored sooner than in the 3-year mark or so. It's just a kind of weighing what the opportunities are and what the options are for the overall design of the park. And the shades, additional shade and trails and additional kind of improvements to the open space, that would be, it could be up in the year 5 or 7, or it could be brought into smaller pieces within all the other areas. And then on the last two, for the multi-use court, that's kind of placed in year 7. We had the up to 7 years in the phasing plan, and that was discussed mainly to kind of break up most of the different pieces into, some doable budgets. So we did go into the 7 year, and then on the parking lot and dog park, that would be as that comes. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, but the planning for that, it would be very beneficial for the overall use of the park. And that is all I had. So any questions, comments, thoughts? I'm not scared of anything, so you go for it.
I'll start off here. Thank you very much for coming and doing the presentation tonight. This is, in my opinion, exactly what we were looking for when we came to y'all to figure out the timeline, what we needed, and how to spread it out over the years. So thank you. Start on it,
No, this is wonderful. As someone with small kids, when I've gone to the playground, I've always hoped there was something for the 2 to 5 age. My son has actually fallen off trying to keep up with his brother and sister, so I appreciate that. And just the improvements, I think it'll bring a lot more people to the playground and just have like a central place where all of these activities can take place. I think it's wonderful, so.
Did we get any other insight from TxDOT at all as to if, since we have the gate down there for the second parking lot?
Yeah, Corey talked to Corey, with our Public Works Department, heads our Public Works Department. He spoke with the project manager, and the timeline's a little bit delayed, but we might have to let them do what they need to do before we can begin any process with what we want to do there. So
Yeah.
other than having the opening, the gate, and access that way, I think we need to let TxDOT do what they're doing with the expansion, but Corey is in contact with them, so anything we come up with that needs to coordinate, we can certainly do that.
And how about the trees for shade alternative? Is that something that was?
Since our meeting last with Claudia, that was the last I heard on that, but I do think there's options as well.
Overall, I think it's a great layout of where we need to go with the park. The goals that we have to hit here. I mean, obviously, the very first things are the most important. The parking lot is by far the one that needs to get rolling in a decent amount of time. But I've looked at this several times, and I don't really have any other questions because I know I'm pretty familiar with it now.
Thank you. It's an excellent presentation. I agree with all of it, especially the order of the priorities. And then I also really appreciate incorporating the ADA into it as a public park. It should be for everyone. So I think that's a really important feature. And also thank you for the information on the splash pads and what's required. I'm also thinking not just the cost, but that I think we're always in stage 3 permanently. So I'm sure nice to have, but
Right.
not necessarily feasible. But no, this is wonderful. Thank you.
One of the reasons I supported this when I was on council, before I was on the EDC board, is because a lot of the grants and funding opportunities required a master plan. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that you included funding opportunities at the end of the plan. And I know we can hopefully reach out to city staff and have someone on our city staff designated to seek some of these grants moving forward. So the other thing I appreciate is that yes, the ADA, but you were very candid about what our weaknesses are at that park and what needs to be fixed. And sometimes everybody has ideas, but we're not park planners. And so not only did you take your expertise, but you also listened to our community and made their priorities our priorities for this plan. And I appreciate that.
It's easy when the priorities for everybody are the same.
Yeah, that does make it easier, doesn't it? So thank you very much.
Okay, got a couple of questions here. On the parking, I'm in favor of the large, I see you'll have a number of different options within the full report here. I'm in favor of the larger one to get the most spaces that we can there. I think that works pretty well. I was thinking that to even add more spaces, is it possible on the entrance? I see we have, that we have enough room there to have two vehicles passing. But I believe on the entrance, on the left side, those may be cedar trees that are on the entrance there, which are not necessarily desirable trees, nor can they really be used for shade. That if we even remove those, we may be able to have horizontal parking on either side, or maybe one side to fit an additional 5 to 10 spots maybe. So that might be something we consider looking at, if we could remove a cedar tree or two along the way there and actually fit some additional horizontal parking. I think the more spaces we could get there, the better. I really like the idea of doing some type of sponsorship or tree dedication or something like that to get some of these trees into the park sooner rather than later so they can start growing. I didn't see it in the report. Do y'all have any recommendations as far as where those trees would go?
No, we don't have that. That was a discussion as far as, well, one of the discussions was the irrigation. So we didn't want to touch that until the irrigation concerns were taken care of, and how many trees we could get. No, but that is something that can be addressed even during the first phase parking lot design, since the trees would be a donation item. Then those can be addressed at that point. And same thing with the parking expansions. That there's so many different parking scenarios that could be done. Once a survey is taken care of, and you have exactly what the dimensions of everything is, and if there's any underground additional, we had a lot of really good information from GIS and all, but there's still opportunities to make some adjustments to that during that design process.
Gotcha, so we'd
I
still
think
need to
there's
get that
plenty
survey and stuff like that to really nail down the
Yeah,
layout,
yes.
number of spots and those type of things to try to
Definitely.
maximize that. Okay. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of opportunity for, even though we have the big open space that we want to have, even trees, in that far, I guess it'd be the northeast corner. There's no trees hardly over there, it looks like here, and some other places that seem pretty barren, that if there's nothing going there as far as soccer field, baseball field, what have you, that why not have some trees in that area to provide shade, help the grass stay a little bit not dirt, if we can in those areas or what have you, and putting trees there. I like that idea. So on the parking too, we were talking about what other events could we have here for the city, and when we have any city events, it's crazy. It's a madhouse out here. If we wanted to have anything at this park, 65 spaces, even if we got up to more, to a few more than that, it's not going to be enough. What is the feasibility of parking there on the outside? Is that Paragon? Is that road right there that's coming in? Parking on the outside of that, off the road there, or even off of 1560. And I know that's not recommended from our perspective, but that would assumably happen because it happened. I mean, people park all over the place trying to get to the city here. Is that a concern if we did have? I'm just trying to think through, would we want to even have city events here, knowing that there would not be sufficient parking, or that people may be parking along 1560, along Paragon, or any of those things? Is that something we should take into consideration as far as?
Definitely with programming events. I know there's other places that are being explored for city events that have the ability to host all the parking. This location itself, without destroying the park itself with parking that's not going to get used but once or
Right.
twice a year.
Right.
There's not a lot of other opportunities. Usually we like to kind of, at least at minimum, have some overflow parking opportunities, but especially on the left end, without taking out the disc golf courses, it would be a little difficult to do that.
Right.
Parking along, I know the road is pretty narrow, to park along that, which could be dangerous to allow for that. So I think working with program and what is actually, smaller programming elements that could be done there for not necessarily big citywide events, but, smaller.
I think it's just something we need to keep in mind when we're looking at spending money out there on infrastructure, pavilions or otherwise, that we really can't use it for larger events because of the parking situation. So, as you said, getting smaller infrastructure there to not encourage events of that size, just because we can't support it with the parking, so why spend the money on the
I know there was
infrastructure?
another area that was being discussed as far as, there's an open parcel that, I'm not sure if it was a city-owned or if it was just an open parcel that was available for purchase. That's kind of on the right side of the dog park and parking area. That could be a possibility for additional, future parking. And that would be an option for some, overflow parking options, not necessarily paving all of that.
I wonder if Iron Horse owns that, or who owns that over there? Interesting. Okay.
I think that's the section of road right there by Roft, like parallel to the creek.
Okay. I guess you have it in two different places. One of it says the pavilion, one of them says like a pickleball court, looks like a pickleball court or tennis court of some kind. I guess that's kind of, y'all are intentionally leaving that open-ended to where, I assume if we put a pavilion there, we're not putting a pickleball court, right?
It would be a covered pickleball court pavilion. It's, that's where the multipurpose kind of comes in, whether it's, and then so it depends if you do want to have something larger for gatherings. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it could be large events because of the parking, but it could be rentable spaces as well.
Interesting. I would have a hard time supporting a covered pickleball court because there's not gonna be any city events held there, assumably, and so it would be a pickleball court the whole time, most likely, and covered, that we're not utilizing that for its full potential on that. So, okay, last thing I have. How does this end our relationship with y'all, or how do you assist with kind of moving forward and implementing these phases and those type of things?
So this finalizes the contract for the master plan document. We will have, if there's any additional comments or otherwise, for the document itself, we'll provide the prints, which brought to here today for you guys to look at. We'll provide the digital copy as well. And if there's any additional services, anything that you guys need us to kind of help you with or guide with, we're here to service for sure.
So does that document include some of the sources for the pricing breakdowns that y'all have in here?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. One thing I did forget too, that we had talked about previously, I'm bringing it up just because it was talked about at the very beginning, but we had thrown around the idea of having some sponsorship opportunities out at the park to where we would have businesses could advertise there, like any of our restaurants or anything like that, to encourage people to come there after they're visiting the park. And those assumably could be used to help fund some part of this, or at least, I realize it's a drop in the bucket, but maybe it could help with offsetting some of the ongoing maintenance costs or those type of things that we have at the park, so that doesn't fall all on the city and on the EDC in doing that. So I think there's some opportunities to have tasteful advertising in the parking lot area to encourage people that are not from here to maybe stay and visit and spend some money at our local businesses. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think I'm pleased with this engagement and its outcome here. I think it's what we needed, particularly the project phasing and cost range. I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing to get my head around. I, however, do like pickleball, And I don't want to deprive our citizens.
Covered pickleball?
I mean, that's down the list. You know, so much can happen in a month, let alone by the time we actually talk about that. I do like, it seems like pickleball's picking up on a private sector. I'd hate to take away from some of the demand that might go to our business owners in town, but
Yeah, we're, on that phase we're looking at is 2030.
I don't even know if I'll be alive in 2030. So, no, I think this is perfect, particularly the ranking of what we need to consider in order. So, yeah, nothing to add. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
So,
Anybody have any discussions, comments? Okay, back up here.
I would ask how we proceed from here.
So now that we've got our official plan, we will need to figure out how we want to proceed and move forward from here.
that's what
Do what?
I agree. That's what,
So we've already included some funding into the proposed budget for next year. So I would recommend that we have Scott put this on the agenda for next month and that we discuss how we want to proceed with the,
should we have a joint? I love a good joint session with city council. Should we have a joint session to talk about costs there as well? I'm not sure what's budget, or is this expectation for the EDC to cover the entire cost and phasing, or what is that?
They started off as doable.
Is there an appetite for shared costs, right?
so I think we need to get with Public Works.
Okay.
Get Scott to talk to them at Public Works and see what they recommend on that. Remember, we did put stuff in there in our budget, proposed what we thought we would be spending around for the first phase.
Yep.
That is in our budget. We will know more at our next meeting, budget-wise, and that'll give Scott a little bit of time, if we want him to kind of reach out to Public Works and get their opinion on that. How does that sound to you, Scott?
That sounds good to me, and I think it allows we have a couple shifts in board members that are coming on board next month, so it allows them to be a participant in the decision process of what moves forward from there. So I will put it on the agenda next month.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on this? Okay, that was our only agenda item we had. The other thing that I would like to do tonight, since it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to do it anyway. We have a couple of people leaving that are stepping off of the board. And Jen, we want to thank you for the time that you put in. It's been good working with you, and we didn't always agree on everything, but we were able to act like adults and discuss everything and work through it and everything. So thank you very much for all the time you did. And Joel, we'll see you later. No. Same goes for Joel. How many years you been on here now? This is 4 this time, and you did a stint before 4 before that. So Joel's got 8 years into this EDC, and we had a lot of late nights discussing everything and meetings, but I think we all appreciate all the things that you've done for us here.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing else. I move that we adjourn at 19:47.
I had one additional question that I didn't.
You're not on the board anymore.
What is this red spot down here? There's nothing on the key for that red.
Quick and easy.